Our next presenter is Terry Wilson. Terry, would you like to come down, please? Please start off by giving us your address, and then you have 8 minutes in which to give your presentation and receive questions.
Okay, my name is Terry Wilson, and I live at 647 Gray Street. Now, I'm not a doctor, a scientist, a researcher. I'm just a regular person from the community that's taken an interest in this topic. I've read countless papers on supporting water fluoridation and countless not supporting it. I've found some very controversial things. Honestly, the biggest factor for me is the health. And I would like to share some of the health effects that I've found about water fluoridation. Fluoride in the thyroid. According to the U.S. National Research Council, several lines of information indicate an effect of fluoride exposure on thyroid function. Fluoride's potential to impair thyroid function is perhaps best illustrated by the fact that up until the 1970s, European doctors used fluoride as a thyroid-suppressing medication for patients with hyperthyroidism, overactive thyroid. Fluoride was utilized because it was found to be effective at reducing the activity of the thyroid gland, even at doses as low as 2 milligrams a day. While it may be that the thyroid in a patient with hyperthyroidism is particularly susceptible to anti-thyroid actions of fluoride, there is a concern that current fluoride exposures may be playing a role in the widespread incidence of hypothyroidism under active thyroid in the United States. Second is fluoride in the brain. Fluoride's ability to damage the brain represents one of the most active areas of research on fluoride toxicity today. The research on fluoride in the brain has been fueled by 18 human studies from China, India, Iran, and Mexico, finding elevated levels of fluoride exposure to be associated with IQ deficits in children. Fluoride's impact on IQ is exacerbated among children with low iodine exposure. In addition to IQ studies, 3 studies, Yu 1996, Du 1992, Han 1989, have found that fluoride accumulates in the brain of the fetus, causing damage to cells and neurotransmitters. In one study, Li 2004, has found a correlation between exposure to fluoride during fetal development and behavioral deficits among neonates. Several recent studies have found that even adult exposure to fluoride may result in central nervous system disturbances, particularly among industrial workers. The findings of neurological effects in fluoride-exposed humans is consistent with and strengthened by recent findings from over 40 animal studies published since 1992. As with the studies on humans, the studies on animals have reported an impairment in learning and memory processes among the fluoride-treated groups. Fluoride links to cancer. The biological plausibility centers around 3 facts. 1, bone is the principal site of fluoride accumulation, particularly during the growth spurts of childhood. 2, fluoride is a mutagen when present at sufficient concentrations. And 3, fluoride can artificially stimulate the proliferation of bone cells. In addition to its biological plausibility, there is now a substantive body of evidence indicating that fluoride can in fact induce osteosarcomas in both animals and humans. Most notably, a recent national case control study conducted by scientists at Harvard University found a significant relationship between fluoride exposure and osteosarcoma among boys, particularly if exposed to fluoridated water between the age of 6 and 8, the mid-childhood growth spurt. I'm also going to quote Richard Wiles, the co-founder of the Environmental Working Group, EWG, a respected Washington-based research organization. We recognize the potential benefits to dental health, but I have spent 20 years in the public health trying to protect kids from toxic exposure. Even with DDT, you don't have the consistently strong data that the compound can cause cancer, as you now have with fluoride. So after reading this, I thought to myself, sodium fluoride must be the most amazingly effective dental breakthrough that's ever been known to man. Just to warrant its use after seeing such serious negative reports about it. So I went to look into the effectiveness of it. And it's not coming up, but it was a report that was posted in the Globe and Mail just recently. And it was titled, Fluoride Advantage Not All That Clear. Statistics Canada studied the dental health of 5,000 Canadians between 2007 and 2009. The cavity rates in Ontario, where fluoridation is widespread, were remarkably similar to those in Quebec, where fluoridation is uncommon. It didn't show up as well, but I also had a chart that was from Europe that showed how closely the countries were, the cavity rates and tooth decay rates were between fluoridated and non-fluoridated countries. It showed almost no difference at all. So in light of information like this and information that the previous speakers have brought forth, I would like to ask Council to stop water fluoridation, or at the very least add it to the 2010 election ballot so the people of Brantford can decide for themselves if they want to have this controversial medication. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, thank you very much for your presentation.